Leather Up will keep you safe while looking great with a huge selection of armored and casual flannel shirts. From heated to sleeveless, Leather Up's got badass gear for all riders and all seasons. Leather Up with 3.5 million customers since 1999. Iconic biker brands like Milwaukee Leather and Hot Leathers to give you the largest selections anywhere. Comfort, variety, classic styling, and affordability with free same-day shipping on orders over $100. Visit leatherup.com and use the promo code MAYHEM for 20% off.
All right, what's up, everybody? I am Johnny Rizzo. I have the honor of having Snake in the studio with me from SkidRow. What's up, Snake? How are you?
You set the bar low if this is an honor.
It really is an honor to have you in studio, no less. I mean,
Thank you, Johnny.
I had you on the show, I think, back in 2021.
Yeah, we were all in the midst of the pandemic, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
My God, I never did so much drinking in my life. Every day I was inventing new cocktails.
That's awesome, though. But you know, you're home, you got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? And see, that's what really, with Facebook Live took off and hurt shows like mine.
Oh, really?
Because everybody was doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like they wanted you to start paying to get out there. Otherwise, if you weren't paying to get out there, you were getting no views. Maybe you're getting 100.
Yeah,
and I used to get 5,000.
Right.
But then everybody started doing it. But it was cool that the bands, like your band, were you doing it at all?
We didn't do any live streams because we lived so far away from each other. Like everybody is scattered across the country.
Right.
So we didn't do any live streams. I mean, the one good thing about it for me was that my family didn't kick me out of the house. They actually decided that they liked me. And
that's a good thing.
So it is. It's a really good thing. But the cool thing, too, is that, you know, I got to spend time with my wife and kids that I never would have gotten that
That's true.
time.
That is very true.
And I don't know if, you know, we realize how important that sort of thing is, especially when you're a guy in a band. And so many people who tour and everything, they can all relate to this, is that you're away more than you are at home.
Right.
So you're spending more time with your bandmates and your road crew than you are with your own family, unless you're lucky enough to have your family travel with you.
Right.
And so when we had... when it had been mentioned or we were told that, guess what, guys, you're going to be home for a little while.
Right.
And no one knew how long.
Now, who told you that? The record companies tell you that? Or
well, no, you start, you know, your booking agent essentially, because we were just in touring mode at that time.
Right.
And all of a sudden everybody's like, look, there's no touring right now. And so everybody's scrambling, all the booking agents and the venues and whatnot are scrambling to figure out, well, how are we going to pay the bills? I mean, that's why Revolution closed down.
Right. Revolution was a great bar too.
It was great. I loved it, man.
Right.
You should take my bicycle up there. I love it. I mean, a lot of my friends played there.
Right.
We played there a couple times, and you know, back in the day, and so it was really sad to see all that, a lot going on. Like a lot of people had to make a lot of adjustments on the fly,
right?
And unfortunately, a lot of people lost their businesses.
Yeah,
we were fortunate enough that, you know, we've been in the game long enough where we had set aside enough money as a band that we could keep the band, you know, up and running through times like that,
right?
And we're very fortunate like that. And so we're waiting. And it's a year and a half later, and finally we get to play a show.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. And
what did you do? Like you practiced every day, or?
I tell you what, man, I one of the strangest things for me individually was that I didn't have one creative idea in that whole. It was the most frustrating thing.
I gotta stop you there, because that album you came out with, "The Gang's All Here," has to be one of the best albums I ever heard in my life.
Thank you.
Can I tell you a quick story before?
Please.
So I was on my motorcycle, right, and I'm riding, and I had where, you you have your music on, but if you don't stop it, it starts playing like from like a radio. Like it just takes music that you might like.
Right.
And this is before I got the album.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I heard this song. I'm like, what is this song? Right? And I kept playing it over and over and over again. And I was, oh, that's the new Skid Row.
Wow.
And I downloaded the album and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Thank you.
What a great idea. So you had some great ideas.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Those ideas didn't come into. This is the truth from my side of things, because Rachel and I do the majority of the writing, and I know that he was being creative. I was attempting to. I thought everything I did sucked.
Really?
And I believe that 95% of it did suck, and maybe there was like 5% in there that was okay. The wealth of the ideas that I contributed to the record and brought in when we started going, okay, we got to make a record. That happened after the pandemic, or as the pandemic was slowing down.
Right.
When we were starting to be able to get in a room and play again, and we might not have been touring or anything, but we were able to start jamming and stuff like that. Rachel and I started getting together and started writing again. And that's when everything started, coming together for me as a guitar player and as a songwriter. But it was a long time, man, where I don't know, a writer's block, whatever you want to call it. And it sucked.
But you know what? I got to say, because you did have like a tough ladder to climb as far as the songs that you already had. I remember 18, all those songs were hits. So to try to come up with something better than that.
It's so strange. Right? I understand what you're saying. I guess there's a part of me that kind of looks at it like that, but it's, for the most part, we challenge ourselves whenever we get in a room to work. Like when we get in a room to write, Rachel and I absolutely challenge ourselves.
Right.
And we bring it as far as we possibly can, the two of us, at that particular point. And if the song isn't done, we get in there the next day and keep going until we feel that it's as far as it can go.
Now, is it just you two writing these songs, and then you bring the other band members into it, like put words to this, or do you come up with the lyrics?
No, we write the music and the lyrics and the melodies to a lot of the stuff. That's not to say that no one else is involved, and Scotty's been involved in a lot of stuff as well.
Right.
We've had some singers who have been involved as well, but for the most part, it's been Rachel and I.
Wow, that's awesome.
To at least what we've done since the very beginning is we kind of like have what we consider the skeleton of a song. Like, okay, here's the lyrics, here's the melodies, here's the music and stuff like that. And then we get in like a jam room or something like that and present it to everybody. And then everybody brings what they do to the table and then makes it their own.
Oh, okay.
And that's what's really important, is that, there's strong personalities in our band throughout the history of our band from day one.
I seen that.
The original 5 on forward. Yeah. And so those strong personalities have to be implemented in creating what the band is to become. And so that all works in the best interest of the outcome of the songs. Right. And, sometimes it takes a bit of pushing and pulling and arguing, and everybody wants, everyone thinks their idea is the best.
This is good. Exactly.
And, and it's a really sensitive thing, man.
I can imagine.
There's a lot of people out there who I've talked to and I'm friends with, where songwriting, they're not sensitive about it. They're just like, I write songs and this is how we go about it. So if someone says to them, I don't think a lot of that idea. Back when we were in our 20s, if someone said that to us, thems were fighting words.
But you have a big hill to climb, because you are Skid Row. So you want to put out Skid Row material.
You have to.
So, and if you guys are the best ones to put that together, then that's the way it's got to be. What if like whoever's singing at the time says, I have an idea and I want to do this?
Oh, it's absolutely.
Yeah.
we always went by the sort of the credo of the best idea wins.
Yeah.
Like, I hope it's ours. I hope it's mine.
Right.
But if it's not, if your idea is better, I've got to be able to sit there and be realistic, and Rachel does as well, and,
Right.
and whomever else is involved in the process.
Right.
And you have to sit there and be, okay, what are we serving here? Are we serving our own egos? No, we're serving the song and the betterment of the band as a whole.
Right.
And so you gotta be able to look at everybody's input honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And go, okay, is this better? And a lot of times it is, and a lot of times it isn't.
Right.
And there's a lot of times that Rachel and I sit in a room and we go through that.
Right.
Where I'll go, man, I really believe in this riff, and he'll be like, man, I don't know. I mean, and then he'll come back at me with something, and I'll go, oh man, that is better. Or we also have this thing where we have this trust with one another from being best friends and writing partners for 38 years now. We have this thing where if I see that he is like insanely passionate about an
Right.
idea, or, you know, whether it be a riff or a lyric or a melody, if he's just so passionate about it, like, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, I'll back off.
Okay.
And I'll trust in that, because obviously it's affecting him in a deep way that he needs to be able to get this out
That's
here.
awesome.
So let me see how I can help
Right.
do that. And vice versa. If I come to him and I go, man, I've got this thing and I love it so much. And if he sits there and goes, it's okay. And I'll be like, dude, please just trust me on this.
Right.
Like, this is, I hear this. And then mutual respect, he'll go, okay, let's run with it. Let's see what we can do.
Is there a tiebreaker, like somebody, like when it's done, before you actually go to record it, that listens to it and says, no, don't do that? Or
I think
yes.
the tiebreaker is the whole band has to kind of sit there and go, wow, you know, these are the 12 songs that we really love.
Right.
I think it's really important that at the end of the day, everybody's on
The same page.
somewhat of the
Yep.
same page where
Right.
where they can where they can go in and, you know, believe in what they're playing and own it.
Right.
Like, that's really the thing
Yeah.
is they have to own it. If someone's just going up there and whether it be singing lyrics off a sheet or, you know, just like playing through the song and not implementing their spirit and their soul into it,
Right.
then it's not going to work.
Right.
It's just not going to work.
Right. So there's more songs that you guys actually write that actually don't make the album?
Yes.
Really?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Because we kind of we're not the type of writers or the type of band that writes a song a day or anything like that. I mean, Quicksand Jesus took 3 months to
Great
write.
song. Really?
3 months.
Wow.
Like, and that's working on it nearly every writing session.
Really? Now you guys have special times a day that you do this? It's like a job, right? Like, no, just whenever?
No, it's really funny. We you know, there's a lot of very, very prolific songwriters out there who have a schedule and they treat it like a job.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I guess it is. We never treated it like that. We never looked at it like that.
Okay.
We, like, when we lived close to each other, it'd be like, all right, what are you doing Wednesday? Nothing. All right, let's get together Wednesday and Thursday and let's do some writing. When we were first putting the band together, we would be rehearsing like 3-4 days a week. And then the other 3 days we'd be writing.
Wow.
And that it was 24/7. And, or we'd rehearse and then we'd go in and write, or we'd write and then go rehearse. And it was just constant. And then one of the things that was problematic and sort of still remains with us is that we had a really difficult time of writing on tour.
Oh, I can imagine though. A lot of distractions.
A lot of people can do it. A lot of people have, like, you know, little studios set up in the back lounge and they go out there and they'll write a record or a lot of a record. Man, I think I've written we've written one song maybe on tour. Now, don't mind you, there's a lot of sound check riffs that we've used.
Okay.
Like we'll be getting ready for sound check and someone will start playing something and a couple guys go, man, what is that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, get out your phone and record it.
Everybody's saying about.
Or we say, when you used to have dictaphones,
Right.
and then you would record it that way. And then when it gets time you're done touring and you get into the sort of the frame of mind of writing a record, you remember.
Yeah.
You remember, you're like, Rachel will be like, dude, there was this riff in wherever. I'll be like, hold on, and pull it up. Is it this? No, is it this? Or also, we'll call each other up and be like, dude, you got anything? Send something over. I'm like, I've just got this. I'm in a creative space, and like I'll be at the time, maybe I was living in California and he was in Atlanta or Nashville.
Right.
And so I'll send him some riffs, and the next thing you know, we're writing 3,000 miles away from each other, and then we're like, okay, we got to take a trip to get together and
put this together,
put everything together.
That's awesome.
So there's really no set way of doing it. We really haven't started on the next record yet. So, and
I can't wait for that, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
You're like, I have no idea.
Me too. I mean, there's a lot of riffs that have been written and stuff and lyrical ideas and things. But what's interesting is that, my God, the world seems to change every day.
Right.
And you can't help but be affected by it one way or another.
Absolutely.
And we've never been like a political band, and we don't or anything like that, and we don't intend on being one.
Right.
But you are affected by your environment,
Sure.
and that inspires certain things and within you. And so, these last however many years, it feels like the last 10 years have been really, really rapid. Things just move at light speed, and things change so much, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So there's a lot to take in, and you hopefully, like, we've always been a very positive band. So we like to take situations that we're being affected by in the real world and turn that into stories or some other type of release, and utilizing metaphors and whatnot, and put a positive twist on things. Like, I think that every song that we've written, if we went through it, we could sit there and explain to you the positive nature.
Okay.
Because it's important to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have that.
One of my questions for you was, you've been doing this for a very long time. What are the challenges you have now that you didn't have in the 80s? Which is there different from touring today than it was in the 80s?
Everything is different. When we started, Rachel and I met in 1985 at a music store in Toms River, New Jersey. And I had a band, he had a band. He walked into the music store and I was like, that guy's a rock star. And I've always been this extrovert when it comes to being able to meet people and stuff like that. Like, at that time, it was all about, one goal and one goal only, putting a band together that was successful. That was the goal.
Right.
And I was there was something about him, and I guess there was something about me in his eyes, because we became friends really fast.
Right.
And of course, me dropping every name of every person I've met in this business at the age of 21, and there was a lot. I networked my ass off, and I'm sure he did too. And so, but I pretended that I knew more people than I really did, but I had the stories to back it up. And so maybe that was slightly impressive because of what supposed business connections I had.
Right.
But what really worked was when we both kind of said, hey, man, why don't we get together and see if we can write something? Because we were both the songwriters in our respective bands. And we got together and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
It was
When it
awesome.
clicks like that. I was in a band called Arrival back in 1991. And we had some good songs. We almost got signed by Atlantic. We were that close.
Okay.
That close. And it didn't happen.
That sucks.
You know, I won't get into why. You know, one of the band members left the band right before that. Most important part of the band, the lead singer.
Yeah.
And it hurt us. And it did. So, you know, another question I want to ask you is, being at that point when you first started, what was it? Was it always called SkidRow? Or did you change the name?
Believe it or not, when we first got together and you know, I had asked Rachel if I go, dude, you want to, because we were writing together, but I had this band and we were rehearsing in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And we were actually called Darkness.
Darkness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and lo and behold, there's a band called out of England called The Darkness. Now,
okay.
Right. So, and it was just from an Aerosmith song on one of their records. And so as we got closer together and it became obvious that he and I were going to do something because he was just doing me a favor and coming up and playing bass with some of the guys that I was playing with in New Brunswick. But the closer we got, the more it was like, you know, we need to find a new group of guys.
Okay.
And he was like, you know what, I'm not really sold on the name or whatever. And okay, you know, we'll figure something out as we go along. And as it turned out, I believe we were driving up to New Brunswick, and we were in his car. He had a Toyota Celica, and the passenger seat was missing some bolts. So every time he hit the gas, you'd fly backwards, and your feet would be up in the air. And
nice.
But it was, you know, a lot of great memories with that car, and this is one of them. So we're driving. I thought it was the Parkway, and the Garden State Parkway, and we had seen these two tire marks kind of going across the Parkway and then leading into the guardrail.
Right.
And so I said something like, we should call the band the Skids, and he goes, no, skid marks, and I'm laughing.
Right.
And I just go, SkidRow. And we laughed for a second. Then we went, light bulb. And we're like, dude, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And we went to rehearsal, and basically Rachel and I walked in, and Rachel basically said, oh, by the way, we changed, you know, these are the guys that are going to eventually get replaced.
Right. They don't know this stuff.
We're like, yeah, the name of the band is SkidRow now. And,
do you still see those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were actually, well, the guy who was singing, no, I haven't seen him in, decades. But the guy who's playing guitar was a childhood friend. So, yeah, he still comes out to shows. And
like, damn, it should be me up there.
Yeah, I think he's finally past that. But,
okay.
But he's one of my, you know, I mean, my God, I've known the guy since I was, you know, like 13 years old.
Wow.
So, and the drummer I've known a really long time. I haven't seen him in a long time. I saw him maybe last year or 2 years ago. And he's doing very well for himself.
Excellent.
And so, you know, I mean, the way I look at it, I don't hold any ill will on anybody that walks through our doors.
Right.
I, regardless of what may have happened while we were in the same situation together, I wish everybody the best of luck, man. I have no, like I said, ill will towards anybody. I want everybody to be successful. Right. Life is so much better that way. I don't want to see anybody suffer. I don't want to see anybody struggle.
Sure.
Regardless of whether we're playing together now or not, you know?
Right.
And whatever happened for why ever we fell out, that doesn't mean I wish bad upon you.
Right.
You know, I want good things to happen.
Yeah,
for people.
Absolutely. So, Bon Jovi.
Yes.
You started out with Bon Jovi?
I grew up with him.
You grew up with Bon Jovi?
Yeah, we were 3 streets away from each other.
Really?
In South Sayreville, New Jersey. And,
wow.
I lived on a street called Robin Place, and he lived on a street called Robin Hood Drive. And
wow.
I basically walked up to the top of my street, walked over 3 blocks, and his house was right there. We met probably when I was, I don't know, like 11 or 12 years old, and became like best buds.
Really?
And, yeah. Yeah, he wasn't even playing music yet at that. Or maybe he had started. I'm not sure. I certainly hadn't started, but yeah, he was. Yeah, matter of fact, he did. And but we used to hang out, play basketball and baseball in the summertime and stuff like that.
So who took off first?
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, geez, he was and is like my mentor, my big brother, and
wow,
like all of those
awesome.
things. He took me in, and his family took me in as well.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was very, very close knit, and still to this day. And I was texting with him last night, and so it was our relationship was such that his work ethic was infectious, and it was unparalleled. And I could see from the very beginning, even when he could only play a few chords on guitar, and I didn't even know anything about a guitar, didn't even own one.
Wow. Okay.
Wasn't even thinking about playing guitar. You could see that he was going to be something. To what degree? Who knew? But you knew he was going to be something. I did. Right. It was so obvious. And again, his work ethic was unparalleled, and that was infectious. That rubbed off on me because that's how he was teaching me. Yeah, and he was teaching me. And, right. I'm watching this evolution of him. And at one point, I played guitar with him because he had won a contest at a radio station in New York called the Apple, WAPP, and they had like a homegrown thing where they had a contest where in the New York, New Jersey area, whatever the reach of 1043 it was, right. And whatever their reach was, whomever was making original music, send in your original music and we'll put it on an album, and then whomever the public chooses to win, like is the most popular, will sponsor a bunch of shows.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up winning. And Twisted Sister was on that record as well, which Shoot 'Em Down, and a couple other bands that were locals, but so I was, I think, 18 at the time. And he's like, dude, I won this contest and I don't even have a band. He's like, I've got David, David Bryan, right. Keyboard player, because from a band that he had previously in high school, he's like, help me put together a band. I got to go out and do these shows. I'm like, absolutely. Now, mind you, as much as I love him and his music, it was, I was more like a Kiss and a Judas Priest and an Iron Maiden, Van Halen guy. Uh-huh. But it was my best friend, and I'm like, I want to play, it'd be great. And there was no ever like promises about anything. And so through me, we got Alec in the band because I knew Alec from the club scene, and I had become friendly with him. And Alec knew Tico. So then Tico gets brought in. Right. And so we went out and I think we did like, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 shows. I'm not sure. And it was great. And it was a lot of fun. But then Alec was very close with Richie. And John was like, I think I'm going to have this guy, Richie, come in and be the,
It's amazing how it comes together, right?
Yeah. And I was like, he was like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I go, matter of fact, because I knew Richie, I was a fan of his, and he's a couple years older than me or whatever. And he had been playing shows in the area as well. And I just thought still do, thought the world of him, and looked up to him and his playing and his voice and his presence and stuff. And he just became a wonderful friend as well. And but it made so much sense. Like that was Richie was John's. Like if John were Robert Plant, Richie was Jimmy Page. Right, if John were Steven Tyler, Richie was Joe Perry.
Right.
Like that's the
way it came out to be anyway.
Yeah, and that's the way. Like I wasn't that guy. Right. Like I wasn't built to be that guy with him.
God had a different plan for you.
Yeah. And I knew that. And so I was never, I get the question. I used to get the question a lot, man, are you bummed out that you got kicked out of Bon Jovi? I go, no, first of all, it wasn't even Bon Jovi. It was just John Bon Jovi. And I go, secondly, no, it wasn't meant to be. I go, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So do you remember what was the first song you wrote for Skid Row that is now part of Skid Row, the first song that you wrote?
Well, the first song that Rachel and I wrote together didn't make the first record.
Really?
Yeah. But once we wrote a song, I believe it was called Telephone.
Okay.
And whatever that's about. but once we did that and we were like, man, this is pretty good. This is pretty cool. And then we started putting the band together and adding different pieces and replacing different members and stuff. We wrote more and more and more. And the really cool thing that we had was that John was interested, because of our friendship, was interested in what we were doing.
Right.
And he always told me, he's like, dude, if you have a great band, I will most certainly help you out any way that I can.
Right.
And he stayed true to that.
Wow.
And so we put together a really good band. And, Rachel is and me as partners in that, in the band and songwriting partners and stuff. And we made a decision early on. This was our thing, it wasn't mine. It was ours.
That's awesome.
And through that, you have a trust that gets built in. And so with that trust, you can go into a room and write songs and feel good about where you're going and what that other person's motivations are.
Right.
And then you get to see how really talented they are. And hopefully you get to pick up on what they do better than you. Mm-hmm. And so you can maximize that, and hopefully what you do better than them. And that's how we really clicked, is that we realized quickly early on what he did better than me and what I might have done better than him. Right. And we were able to go, well, let's, exploit that as much as possible.
Sure.
And that's what we've done since. And so John was a big help in basically giving us his opinion on the songs that we were writing.
Right.
He'd be like, yeah, that's good, but it could be better. And okay, why? And he would say what he thought. I think the melody isn't strong enough. I think the chord progression has been done. I think the lyrics aren't as good as what you guys are capable of.
Right.
And I was like, and Rachel was like, okay, this is awesome. Because as difficult as it may be, you're getting critiqued from someone who is, just released Slippery When Wet.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Big album. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think that, I'm going to take advice from that
absolutely.
guy,
Yeah.
and Richie as well,
sure,
for that matter. So that was a huge help in the development of the band. And it taught us that very early on in the garage in Tom's River at Rachel's parents' house, it taught us very early on, good ain't good enough. And there was a lot of competition in the clubs back then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Twisted Sister had gotten signed, thank God. But there was other bands out there, Prophet and TT Quick and Rat Race Choir.
Yep.
And, and you saw bands too, like the Good Rats, who just weren't taking off. And you're like, why? And Trigger and, Citron and Zebra, exactly.
Great band.
Thank you. Yep. Who luckily got signed around, right after Twisted Sister did.
Yeah.
And so we used to go see them all in the clubs.
I opened up for them once. That's my highlight. I opened up for Zebra.
Oh, where?
At Lemore's in Brooklyn.
There you go.
Back in the day, yep.
Oh, man, one of my favorite places ever.
Wow.
Spent a lot of money I
spent a lot of time in Lemore East.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was the place.
So it was that whole thing, it was always an education and a priceless one that we were being taught as we were going along. We were given these great lessons that I think gave us a leg up on a lot of a lot of I say competition, but a lot of the other artists in the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area.
Right.
And through that help, I think it accelerated our progress. And, labels started to take notice. And then John was like, you know what? You guys, if we can, we'll take you on tour.
Really?
And then it was like, holy shit, man. Really? And
it's happening. It's really happening.
It's really happening. Doc McGee became involved and as our manager, along with his brother Scott, and through them, Atlantic Records and Geffen Records became involved, and there was this whole thing back and forth between them. And meanwhile, we're like, whoa, like we're just still in the garage,
right? Like
we're making hardly any money. We're still eating Spam and macaroni and cheese. That's just there's nothing glamorous other than what the future may hold.
Right.
But it's so exciting, man, to just every day to be going through this. And there's so many ups and there's so many downs, but thankfully we all had the same ambition and we all had the same drive.
Sure.
And one of the things that I got taught, and maybe inadvertently, but early on, is that surround yourself with people who are better than you.
Okay.
And because if you do that, if you're smart enough to do that,
right,
then what you have, what you put together, or what you're part of putting together is going to be as strong as you are or stronger.
Wow.
And so that was something that always weighed heavily on me and Rachel, for that matter, when we would talk about, okay, the band that we want to put together.
And you did all this back then without social media.
Yeah, I think it was probably easier.
You think so?
The reason why I think so is because I think your work ethic had to be, you had to have an unbelievable work ethic. So a lot of people who didn't have that work ethic fell by the wayside. Now you have a situation where, which I don't get me wrong, I think it's great that people can have the ability to, record in their homes, in their bedrooms or whatever, and have outlets for their music. I think that's awesome. What I don't like is that there's not really any gatekeepers around. And what I mean by that is people who are respected and trusted being able to tell other people it ain't good enough.
Right. Okay.
And that's what we went through.
Yeah.
We went through, John and Richie and Doc McGee and Scott McGee and those guys going, that right there that you think is the be all that ends all.
Right.
It ain't.
Wow.
You guys got to go back and it's got to be better. And it's like, that's frustrating and your ego takes a beating. But once you get through that and go, okay, and you adopt an attitude of, I'm going to show you, okay.
Yeah.
And then you realize that they were right because it just made you better and it made the song better. And then, therefore, it made the whole band better. And, being able to swallow your ego is not always the easiest thing to do. But if you have your head on straight, like we were lucky enough to be brought up the way that we were brought up. We were lower middle class families, blue collar workers. Our parents had great work ethics and that spilled over. So my neighborhood, everybody worked hard, I mean, John's parents worked their asses off. That's where his work ethic came from.
Right.
He's got 2 younger brothers. Same thing. They've got an incredible work ethic. I've got 4 older brothers. They all work their asses off. Everybody in our neighborhood. That's the way it was built, man. Our parents were all from the post, they're post World War II.
Wow.
And so, you had to work hard to, get a leg up or to even survive.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So there were tough times
Yeah,
for
I'm
those
sure there
guys.
was.
So it left an indelible imprint on all of us. And we carry that with us to this day.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And you're still doing it.
yeah, because I love it.
So let me ask you about Eric.
Yes.
What a singer. Wow.
Great singer.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
When I heard this guy's voice, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, us too.
I mean, it was, what were your thoughts when you first heard him?
Oh, I was like, man, this guy's great. Like,
Yeah.
let's see if we can, get him in the fold. And we had recorded everything for the record.
Oh, really?
Gangs
Okay.
All Here, and it didn't work out with our singer previously.
Right,
so we're like, we are in trouble. And it was Rachel who brought up. He's like, man, remember that dude who won like the Swedish Idol?
Yes.
When he was like 19
Yep.
with 18 in life. And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. He goes, well, he just put out like a new version of 18 in life like a few months ago.
Really?
So he pulls it up on YouTube and he's like, this guy's pretty awesome. So DM'd him and then started a conversation. And the next thing we know, within the space of probably less than a month, he's doing vocals on the record
That's awesome.
remotely from Sweden.
And I was watching him on Facebook. He really enjoyed being in the band.
Yes.
Yeah, he was, when you guys were on tour, making all these videos. I watched all these videos. I followed him. And he was having so much fun.
We did. We had a lot of fun.
Was it like having your son with you, though? I mean,
no, it wasn't that extreme. It was having a younger brother.
Oh, younger brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like when the band first started, he wasn't even born yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And it's amazing where he is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he has been raised on a lot of the music that we were raised with. So a lot of his influences were very similar to ours. So we connected on that, whether it be, 80s or 70s pop music or Motown music or things like that. He was well versed in it. So we shared a similar affinity for that type of music, for all those genres of music. And so there was even though there might have been a huge difference in age, there was a lot of stuff that we had in common.
Right.
And I really enjoyed being on the road with them. I enjoyed doing the record with them. I had a lot of really good times with them, but fate intervened, and health has to come first, and family has to come first, and so we attempted to figure it out and what could work for everybody, and we just couldn't do it before it really came down to at the end of the day the attention that he had to pay to his health, and him being in Sweden and him having to be near his doctors and trusting in that, the way that we would have had to set up touring in order to accommodate that when it needed to be accommodated, no one would have made a living wage.
Right.
The only people that, and no disrespect to our road crew, but they would be the only ones that would have made any money.
Wow.
We would end up breaking even at best. And that you can't live like that. Like we all still, at the end of the day, no one's greedy, but you have to make a living.
Right.
You have to pay the bills.
Absolutely. That you have to pay the bills. So now you're looking for a new lead singer. Do you have anybody in mind that you're looking at, or how does a band like SkidRow go out and get a new singer?
Man, first of all, we're taking our time. We're not rushing into anything.
Right.
There's been a lot of great people that we've gotten, YouTube videos from.
Right.
And
I can audition right now. I think I'm there. 18 and like, no, I ain't gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. No.
Yeah, but if I do like If I do like a black metal band, I'll get you in.
Hey, dude,
Exactly. Thank you. Or a hardcore band. Yeah. So the thing is that this is where it's sort of easy. This is easier, is that finding out who's out there.
Right.
When we were first putting a band together, well, you would get cassette tapes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And so you get cassette tapes, and then you listen to that. Then they send you pictures, and then hopefully they have pictures of them live.
That voice don't go with that face.
Maybe somebody has like a VCR tape or something, And so nowadays, you click on a link on YouTube and you can see what they do.
Right.
And so it makes it expedites the process. It's just, and there's a lot of great people out there. Once again, you have to find what works for what we're doing. And we're close. We're close.
Yeah,
There's a few people out there that we're really interested in. We just got to make sure that it's the right thing.
Yeah. You have to, because it's Skid Row. It's not like a local band, you get a new singer. It's Skid Row.
Yeah.
You have an image to keep up.
Yeah, man.
Right? I mean,
well, we just want to do, we want people to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Like, we want to be able to show respect for the history of the band. And we also want to be able for people to enjoy going to a show and feeling like they got more than their money's worth.
Right.
And then at some point be able to make, a really good record.
Yeah.
And all that has to be taken into consideration when you're working or thinking about working with someone brand new. And, we have, again, Scotty, Rachel, and I have known each other for, I've known Rachel since 85. I've known Scotty since 86.
Wow.
And Rob, our Hammersmith, our drummer, he's been in band 14 years.
Rob. Yep.
So we all have like a really good, strong history together. Right. And so the person that's going to come in,
got to fit into
that.
All right.
And look, we're pretty flexible people. Like we're not.
So if I work on my voice a little bit, maybe I can get in there?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give it a shot,
Yeah.
Ooh, ain't gonna happen. But that was great, man. And
so that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We're in the process of searching and auditioning. We're easy to find online. So if people are listening to this and they think that they've got the goods, then send us a link.
Yeah.
And, show us what you got.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there's been a few people that have come down who have been a lot of people have been really impressive. They just weren't right for us. But
right.
they've been, and now there's been a few people that have come down that, could they work? Yeah, there's a good possibility. So again, it's we're being cautious, but we're and taking our time, but we're really thankful that we've had the amount of people come down and work with us.
Well, you got, you guys got the name. You got if I had a good voice, and you guys were opening for some auditions, I would be right there.
You got the perfect voice for what you're doing.
Not the face, just the voice.
That's all right. Right. You and me both.
Now you killed it in the music industry. Now you have a rum that's out. Right?
A what?
A rum?
Yes.
Tell us about the rum.
Well, it came about. We met with this company in Sweden, of all places, was interested in doing something. They had done something with Kiss, and they were interested in doing something with us.
Right.
And one of the things that we had said was that if we're going to do anything, you can't just slap our logo on something. We have to, we want to be involved in the tasting of it and everything.
Wow.
So it was originally supposed to be a vodka and a whiskey.
Okay.
And then they were like, well, wait a second. Here's an interesting idea. I'm sorry. It was supposed to be like a vodka and a rum. And because there was a lot of whiskeys out there. And I'm a vodka drinker, but I'm like, whatever tastes good, I'm into. And that's kind of the way we looked at it. And so they're like, okay. So we did a taste test on a bunch of different vodkas and a bunch of different rums, and gave them our opinions and stuff like that. And all of a sudden they came up with this idea of, well, how about we do like this special edition 18-year-old distilled and aged in these special barrels and whatnot. And we're like, what? Like, I mean, it all sounds well and good. And they're like, it's going to be a little expensive, but we'd like to give it a shot. One of the things that we didn't take into consideration when we did this was that it was a European company and that we might have a problem getting it shipped into the States.
Okay.
Didn't even think about that.
Right.
That's our bad. So we've been having issues with that. And it's a little bit pricey, but I gotta say, man, I have this. It's really, really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I'm dying to try it.
And it's not something. It's not like you don't mix it with Coke or you don't. It's totally
different kind of rum
on the rocks, man.
Really?
Oh yeah, a nice giant ice cube in a rocks glass, and it's so good.
Well, when it gets here, I got to have some in the studio.
Yeah, man, it's really, really good.
Do a taste test in the studio, great.
Oh,
and I want you to come back on the show after you get a singer.
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this has been enjoyable, man. You've been great. I
appreciate thank you enough.
Oh, no. The pleasure's all mine. This has been a breeze. This is easy.
Yeah. Okay, not a tough question. No, but I tell you, man, that album, still pushing it, right? The gang's all here.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. I feel like Eric gave Skid Row a new life.
I agree.
As far as like, you bring some youngness in it. And Skid Row was on top in the 80s and 90s, right?
Right.
But now you're back on top again.
Yeah, it was great. It was, I wish... Look, we all wish that we could have kept going like that because it was a lot of fun. And it's just that, you're talking about a serious health condition that the kid has.
I read up on it, yep. I
mean, it's, cancer and having to get, bone marrow transplants and stuff like that. Yep. And, I always, we'd be out on the road and you realize that, you do a little bit of, you educate yourself a little bit and you realize that, when someone gets a bone marrow transplant, it's basically they have their immune system is that of a child.
Right.
It's a brand new immune system that has not matured at all.
Right.
So what might be a simple cold to me could be devastating to him.
Right.
And I've seen it and it sucks.
Yeah. It does.
And I mean, we due to that condition, we had to cancel, legs of tours and shows and things like that. And he felt terrible, and we all did. We understood, of course, because of there's nothing you can do if you're suffering because you're a cancer survivor, but that doesn't come without complications.
Exactly.
And so I wish him all the good health and luck in the world. I really do.
Absolutely. My girlfriend is a 3-time breast cancer survivor.
I know.
You donated, again, I want to thank you on the air here. You donated a guitar that you signed to the Rock and Roll for a Cure run, motorcycle run.
I remember, yeah.
We had about 700 motorcycles on that run.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Out of Massapequa, we're having another one this year.
Yeah.
Love to have you there somehow.
I love to be there. Yeah. I don't ride a motorcycle.
You don't have to.
I can't even ride a bicycle.
Maybe a rum will be here by then.
Yeah, I would love that. Would great. Be awesome.
But again, I want to thank you so much for coming in the studio.
Pleasure.
Being my in-studio guest with me tonight. And I am Johnny Rizzo. This is Motorcycle Mayhem Radio. I want to again thank the Snake. Is it the Snake or just Snake?
Both.
Whatever. How did you get that name?
Do you want the truth?
I want the truth.
I was 12 years old, was playing shirts and skins basketball at the school up the street from my house with the aforementioned Mr. John Bon Jovi and a bunch of us.
Right.
And I had one chest hair and It was really long and squirrely. And he's like, dude, that's gross. Get rid of that. I'm like, no, man, I'm becoming a man, like I'm becoming a man. He's like, dude, it's gross. It looks like a snake. It's gross.
And that's it.
And every day he would go, you get rid of that snake? I go, nope.
That's
He's
it.
like, all right, snake.
That's it.
And that was it.
It's funny. I got the same kind of story. Not like that, but I went to a restaurant, a bar called Changing Times in East Northport. Great bar.
Right.
And the first time I ever went there, they had a teriyaki steak, and I loved it and went back the next day. 3, 4, 5 days in a row. On the 6th day, the owner goes, are you back for the steak? I said, yeah. He goes, we're going to call you Johnny Steaks. And that was it. That was it. I was Johnny Steaks.
Johnny Steaks. That's great.
That was it. People don't even know me, some people, as Johnny Rizzo. They're like, that's Johnny Steaks. Who's Johnny Rizzo? I'm like, oh, it's me. That's great, man. Well, again, you're awesome, man. You're always welcome in this studio, obviously.
My pleasure. It was great. Thank you for having me out here.
I'm looking forward to your next album.
Me too.
Can't wait to hear it.
I hope it's good.
And again, the gang's all here. Unbelievable. Check it out. Where can you get that album? Anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the States through Ear Music and the Orchard, I believe, and Amazon. Whatever else you buy, wherever else you buy your records from.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
It's out there.
That's awesome, man. Again, Snake, thank you for coming in. You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, buddy.
All right. So I am Johnny
Thanks,
Rizzo, and we'll be back right after this tune. What do you want to hear? What SkidRow song can I play right now?
Hell or High Water.
Great song. Hell or High Water. We'll be right back right after this.